All right, cool. All right, so yes, we are here today with Jessica Whitaker, the founder of Build and Bloom, and we're going to be talking about FaceTime photo shoots. So shooting through your computer, making the most of this crazy situation we're in, and
Mhm.
I'm really glad to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. It's going to be a really good chat.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So tell me where are you based right now? Where are you calling us from? Where are you zooming from?
Seattle. So Seattle, Washington. So I think you guys are in Seattle right now then too, right?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
we're
yeah.
down in Ballard. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Ooh.
So we've been in the same mix together. Awesome. Yeah, so I wanted to have you in the group today to talk about your FaceTime photo shoots, because a lot of what we see right now is
Mhm.
people searching for a way to be creative and to still to be in business and to keep shooting. And the crazy challenge is we have to do it without actually being able to be near anybody, which
Yeah,
may seem impossible to most people. But tell us
right.
about what you've been doing. Tell us about FaceTime photo shoots.
Yeah, so FaceTime photo shoots, and if you don't have FaceTime access, like you don't have an iPhone, you could just copy and paste the word with Zoom, Google Hangouts, Skype. But for the ease of it, we just been calling it FaceTime. And so basically, it's where you'll have somebody else on the other line. It's a video chat, and then you're taking screen caps. So a little bit different than a screenshot where you're just gonna be screenshotting your phone screen and it might be a bit pixelated with the screen cap. In FaceTime, at least, you're able to almost take a live photo with their front-facing camera. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like a true selfie. So it kind of removes a lot of the pixelation and just looks more like a mobile photo rather than a screenshot from a video chat.
Totally. Yeah. Some of them have been looking really, really good. Like the photos are awesome. Can I show some of yours real quick so
Yeah,
people
yeah,
can see right off the bat?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought these were really, really amazing. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. See if I do this right. All right. Cool. So tell us about this shoot that you did. Like to me, I can't believe this is from a mobile phone. I mean, like done through the computer. But tell me about this shoot.
Yeah, so my friend Chelsea and I decided, so we got the idea from one of my Instagram friends, Andre, and he did the shoot on YouTube with this YouTuber. And then I was like, seeing a couple people post in Build and Bloom about FaceTime shoots, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a cool idea. I did research, found like his video, and I was like, hey, like, I love this. Can I make a tutorial on it? And he was like, yeah, cool. So my friend Chelsea and I texted her and I was like, dude, we have to give this a try. And Chelsea is also based in Seattle, so you can do it. So we're both in the same area, but you could do it with people across the world. That's the beauty of the FaceTime. And Chelsea and I do so many shoots together that I knew she would be already like pretty comfortable with me, like with the camera. I already know that she's a photographer herself. So this was pretty like a safe way to go about it. Like my first ever FaceTime shoot, because I knew it would be, we were comfortable with each other. She has like an artistic eye. She's super good at styling too. So I feel like
Yeah.
even her outfit and the way that she's like chosen to dress herself pops a lot on camera. So it has a good color story going on. It's like complementary colors. And so, yeah, we decided to just do it the next day. And she already had a tripod for her phone. So that's one of the big keys. It gives you a lot more freedom with each shot. And it was like pretty funny to like direct it, and it was a really like weird experience but funny. And so I think when you do it with a friend, it's like even more funny. But yeah, we just set up the phone in front of like the tripod in front of windows, experiment around with like, we wanted to make sure that her hands were fully in the frame on most shots, so it didn't look like a selfie. We wanted to make sure like her shoulders were fully in. We didn't
Hmm.
want it, we had to kind of like look at it like, okay, what can we do to make this like the opposite of like a mobile phone FaceTime true selfie, and more just like honestly like iPhone photography versus like a FaceTime shoot, because there's no really way of getting around the quality. But if you do edit it, heavy grain,
Yeah.
if styling itself, like her look is pretty retro already, so it kind of makes sense with the edit. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, really fun experience, like super fun. And ever since that video went up, we've seen in Build and Bloom so many, like 12 posts a day of people recreating like their version of a FaceTime shoot or Zoom or, you know, Google Hangouts. And it's been really cool to see. So it was a really fun, it's a fun creative outlet for everybody to try out. And it's cool to see people do it with people who, you know, live across the world that they wouldn't have shot with otherwise, but they've been talking to for like, you know, months and stuff like that.
Great. Yeah, it's so cool. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, there's no way that you can do this, like
Right.
to shoot this way. What I'm really curious about is how do you gain access to their phone, or how do you get the best quality you can shooting through their front camera? I've never even tried
Yeah.
that. I have no idea.
Yeah, so we didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, at the beginning of the video itself, I was like, okay, guys, like, I guess we're just gonna do a screenshot and see how it goes. And I was trying to figure out how do I move my little icon on the phone out of the corner and like screenshot it at the same time. But then there is a little, at least on FaceTime, so on the phone, not computer version of FaceTime, there's a little white button at the bottom of like, there's a toolbar where you can hang up, add people, whatever, and then there's a white circle. If you tap the white circle, then it says you took a FaceTime photo, and it's actually a live photo of their front-facing camera rather than just
Got it.
like a screenshot. And when I realized it was live, I think you might have to set it to be live, like how you would set your settings to have access to live photos on your actual just iPhone camera. But it
Oh,
gives
okay.
you options because you're already pretty limited with the amount of screenshots. You know, you're already limited with just working within FaceTime, that when you have live, you can get obviously more options, but you have a higher chance of actually like getting the shot without all the headache and stuff.
Okay, so like live shot as in like on an iPhone, you have like the
Mhm.
live setting and you're actually recording like a little snippet
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you can pick it. So when you take that photo using the live setting, can you then like choose which frame you wanted
Mhm.
out of that? You
Yeah,
can. Okay,
it's
cool.
literally like a front-facing camera. Like it's real. I don't know how it works with the technology, but it's really, really cool because the quality is also preserved. Yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
not sure how it works. I don't know how it goes from their camera roll basically to yours, but I think that's a really big key. So if you have the ability to do FaceTime over Skype, you probably want to go with FaceTime if you have that option.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. So it sounds unfortunately like it's only for Apple users, or
Yeah, for
that
that.
level.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with Skype, you can still, or no, not Skype. I believe it's Google Hangouts. You can do the screen captures as well without having to worry about your window. You know what I mean? When you do a video call and you see yourself in the corner. I believe with
Yeah.
that, you can move yourself out because I did see some posts in Build and Bloom, one in particular that looked like it was FaceTime in the sense of you're taking the live photo, but it was through Google. I think Google Hangouts or like whatever it is. Yeah, I think Google Hangouts. So, but I don't know if you can do the live mode.
Okay. Okay, cool. So walk me through like setting one of these up, like setting up a FaceTime photo shoot. Like how do you go about it? Like how do you work with your model and get everything going?
Yeah, so I think you just have to kind of do like almost as much planning as you would setting up a shoot with a model that you're doing like a trade for print with. So you kind of have maybe a mood board or a few like inspiration photos already on hand, and then you can communicate that to your model. So whether that's like the color palette, or if you're going to experiment around with, you know, shadow and light, or you're going to incorporate some kind of prop into the photo. I think that's a big key to making the photos look a bit more interesting, because you do want to avoid making it just look selfie. Even if that's,
Yeah.
you know, more of like a really pretty portrait, it can still, with FaceTime shoots, I think a key is to make it a little bit more artsy, like push yourself, get a little bit more creative to kind of distract from, oh, it just looks like it's, you know, literally a selfie, like a mobile photo. And so I think if you can pick out one element to focus on, so whether that's the light, you're going to be like playing around with shadows, like I said, or if it's the styling. So with Chelsea and I, you know, she's wearing red checkered dress, red lip, and then her green and red bandana. So we already have like a really strong color story going on. Even if you scroll down, I think to the very last photo, or the one where she's sitting on, that one, she has this really cool mustard couch. So that all plays into it. So that's one big element. You want to really like rely on the styling, and then also making sure they have a way to actually set up the phone. So whether that's through a phone tripod, or if they have a camera tripod where they can kind of like duct tape the phone to the back of, you know, if you can kind of maneuver some kind of tripod, I think that's going to be much easier than doing the classic, like setting up, you know, stacking up 12 books and then like leaning the phone against it. I think that will just save a lot of the frustration on the model's end, because you're not the one physically, you know, moving the camera around. They're having to do that, and then also feeling silly about modeling in front of the camera. So I think if you can have access to a tripod for your model, if not, there's totally ways to get around it, but that's the biggest key. I don't know how we would have really gotten the shots that we did in just like an hour or so without the tripod. And then also making sure that you have obviously like a good internet connection. I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but I think that when it's like super laggy, that can add to like frustration. And honestly, video chat is already kind of like stressful enough. You know what I mean? You have all the different technical elements that are going into it, and there's nothing worse than like the reconnecting loading. So just like get off of Wi-Fi, get onto Wi-Fi, whatever it is. Just kind of like make sure you can eliminate as much stress out of it. Even though it is supposed to be fun, it's still like a new thing. It's still kind of silly almost feeling. And starting out with your friends too, I think starting out with your friends versus a model within, you know, your Facebook group, so that you already have somebody to like kind of practice it on and like troubleshoot with. So you know, okay, next time I'm going to do a shoot, I know to double check my Wi-Fi or whatever it might be. So that it's a little bit of a smoother experience going forward. Because they're definitely like, I even had trouble with my phone. So I have Wi-Fi problems, but my phone, like I would take the FaceTime photo, clicking the white button, and then it wouldn't load into my camera roll. So it took us like 25 minutes to figure that out. So we like restarted the phone, got on the call again, then her phone died. So we had like a few technical things that we had to work around, but I'm glad it was with Chelsea versus like, you know, somebody who I wanted to shoot with for a while, and then now we're, you know, it's not working and you have to troubleshoot with them, and it can just be like awkward or stressful, or you know what I mean? So I would definitely recommend start out with a friend, and you can totally even do something simple. Like if you feel like, well, I can't think of the most creative concept, even if you do like a monochromatic, like if you have a red sheet or like a red seamless paper, red outfit, red lip, like with, you know, all monochromatic, that instantly looks a little bit more, you know, like artsy than trying to think of the most creative concept on earth. So I think there's even some cool a shoot that I saw where they had like this nylon thing, like a nylon tie or sock or something, but they did really cool things with it. Like they had their arms through, I don't know, it created really cool shapes. And I think just getting even like silly like that can create a cool concept, because then it takes away from the whole, oh, I'm focusing on the quality of the shot. You're now thinking more about the shot versus you're looking more into it than just the pixelation and the grain.
Yes. In fact, we have a lot of comments coming in about that, like where people are asking, you know, can you do this from an iPad? And also, is the quality of the photo based on the phone camera itself, or on the model and the way that you're you know, making the art in front of the camera? Like what makes it work?
So I would say, I think you can do it on if you have an iPad, you should be able to do the FaceTime very similar with the screen capture. You could probably do it on the computer, but I just don't have the latest version of iOS on my computer.
Oh yeah.
So I think it comes with the update. So you probably have it on the computer too. But so when it comes to the quality though, I'm assuming, this is from my experience, and I'm assuming that it comes from your model's like front facing camera. And also if they have got the same iOS updated as you, I don't think that they could use like you know, even like software from like a year ago, they have to have the same update so you can both screen cap it. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And then, but if you're just doing screenshots, then it would depend on their camera, because we were, before we realized that we could do the screen cap and we were planning it, we're like, should we do on the phone or computer? And we both have older Macs. And so we're like, okay, we should probably do phone because our computer webcam isn't the best. Like our phone quality is better than the computer. So if you
way
have
better.
an older phone, but a newer computer, you might be able to do the webcam versus your phone if you're worried about quality in that sense. But internet connection too on it, and also have your model just like clean the clean the camera, clean the webcam camera. But in terms of quality, like you're not going to get the most sharp image that you would even with your iPhone back facing camera on like HDR, doing the proper, you know, iPhone following those kind of guidelines. So like a way to get around that and almost like distract from the quality is in the editing and also like the overall feel of the image. So with Chelsea's image, actually, if you can pop back to one of the photos, I'll show them kind of.
You added a lot of grain, which was a great idea to hide like the quality of the of the photo. Yeah, it looks super good.
So like, I think the reason why it works is because of the already like the styling choices. So she's already wearing something very like 60s, 70s-ish, and it's already very vintage in the overall look. And so with even the filter that we chose, it feels more natural to have the grain on the photo. And we also added dust into like afterlight, because all the editing was done on mobile, because I think that's like the fun part.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Not loading it into Lightroom and like using our traditional, you know, techniques. It just like makes it a little bit more of a challenge. And then we added that like fake film border. So overall, it makes sense within this image. So I think if you're going to add grain, honestly, the grain looks kind of amazing on like any shot. But if you take it one step further and be like, okay, if I want to hide and distract from the pixelation, if I'm going to add grain, what's going to be in dust? Maybe I should choose to do something a little bit more intentional with that overall even era. So
it's classic. Yeah. It's a classic approach to it, because I've done that on like full-size DSLR images that had a ton of noise, you know, like do a little bit of noise reduction and then throw grain on there, and then it just like makes it perfect. And what you've done with these photos, they look fantastic.
Thank you.
I had two questions for you. So one problem that I have when I do mobile photography, or not a problem, but just something I have to deal with, is you don't always have great control over exposure or contrast. And when you're shooting through someone else's phone, do you have any control over exposure or contrast, or are you just like getting them in the right spot and going for it?
Yeah, no, you don't have any control, because with the front-facing camera technique too, even on, like on your iPhone, if you try to take a selfie, I believe you cannot adjust the you can't. You can adjust it actually a little bit, but on somebody else's phone, you're not able to. But I think then that's where you want to make sure that the lighting is really good. So either like she was right in front of windows, so like really strong natural light, or having them set up whatever studio lights or makeshift studio lights that they have. And then that gives you a lot more ability to make it higher contrast. I think the higher contrast also kind of disguises from the mobile. It's not as like flat. So yeah, I would say if that's the one kind of downside of it, is you don't have that ability that you do with your own when you're taking your own selfies or mobile photos, but it's part of the challenge and part of the fun.
One thing I noticed about your photos too, and this is only one shoot, you know, I'm not seeing multiple shoots, but is that you're getting very close to your subject and getting really, you know, filling the frame. Maybe partially because you also don't have any control over depth of field, right? So like, like you can't blur out the background really easily, or like isolate her from the background. And so what's really nice is that like you're framing her with these lights behind her, and you've got a clean background. And then in this one, again, you've found a clean background. Here it's just like her face, and then you're using like the mirror to make this cool shape through there, and then like her face again. Every photo you're getting around, I guess, the quote unquote problem of not being able to blur out the background, which is
Mhm.
something that so many photographers rely on.
Mhm.
And this is great because you're pushing yourself in a different direction, right? Like you can't be like shooting at 1.8. You
Right.
have what you have, and you're working with light and your subject. Um,
Right.
so it looks like I'm assuming you moved around the house a lot, right, to get these clean
Yeah.
backgrounds, or how did you do that exactly? I keep
Yeah.
envisioning you like giving her direction through the, just like yelling at her, like, okay, over to the left, like go over to the
Right.
right, go over here.
Yeah. So I've actually been to her apartment before. So that was one like thing where I knew kind of we've already shot there. I knew the overall like layout and like where the best spots were, where the windows were. So for me in this particular shoot, it was pretty easy to find all those clean backgrounds. I didn't have to have her send me photos of her space earlier. I would say if you are going to work with a model or anyone you haven't been in their house, have them send just like some quick overview, like some photos of their space. Honestly, every room, like maybe their kitchen has the best lighting. Like in my old apartment, the only light that we had that was good was in the bathroom, but you can still make that work,
Uh,
right?
uh-huh,
So
of course.
um, have them send you photos, and then yeah, you're gonna want to mostly pick a backdrop that's pretty clean. Um, it doesn't mean that you can't do something a little bit more intricate and fun, but we like relied more on the reflection of the mirrors and like the details in the mirrors. And then she has those really cool big floor lamps, but I've seen them before at her apartment and like I love them. So I was like, okay, we have to do a shot underneath framing her. So we were kind of very particular with if we were going to do something that was super clean and almost like just a simple backdrop, we had to add elements of like subframing her, framing her to make it a little bit more interesting. And then also to kind of take away that selfie look. Like you really want to make
Yeah,
sure that everything you're doing is pulling away from it looking like she's just taking a photo of herself or a selfie or a self timer. So like in this shot particularly, both her hands are in the frame, her shoulders are fully in the shot. So that was something that we had to do is like, okay, I think as much of her shoulders we can get in there, always having her hands for the most part in each shot. It looks like you're taking it rather than, her with her hands out or even her shoulder
sure.
cut out of the shot. So
So
yeah.
on this shot here,
Mhm.
were you like telling her like, okay, now put your hands up here, or were you just saying, I'd like to see your hands more in the shot,
Oh
or
no,
like
we're
how were you
like
directing her?
so with Chelsea and I, it's just a lot of like, oh wait, ooh, put it, yeah, yeah, and then we're like, okay, perfect. So it's like, it doesn't make for the best tutorial, but yeah. So like, I'll just say, can you put both your hands up by your face, and then it's a lot of very like, okay, actually move it down like a quarter of an inch. Wait, that's too far. Wait, no, back. So it's a lot more. How do I say it? It's a lot more particular than when you're shooting in person with someone and you can just show them exactly or like go in and kind of
Yeah,
adjust it because you have no way to really like control it other than describing and like kind of mimicking it. So you do have to we're extremely if you translate like our just like going crazy and like speaking to each other because we're good friends and stuff, it is very like, okay, actually bring it down just a tiny bit. Oh no, just a little bit more adjusting. And also like left and right, because it's like the opposite is a little
oh
stressful. So
yeah,
it's always like, move this way. No, sorry, this way, because it's reflecting. So it is pretty funny, like even just the whole experience, whether it's your friend or a model, it's always gonna feel really silly, but that's part of the fun. Like it should be something that's fun because it's FaceTime shoot. Like
yeah,
it's silly.
totally. Well, that's awesome. I think you're like covering new ground here. Like this is before the whole pandemic. Like this was not even something that anyone had ever even heard of. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before. And it's really, really cool. You've done a few shoots now, or probably many. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, have you started charging people for it? Have you made it into something that you can, get clientele out of and do photo shoots in their home?
Right. So I haven't, and we have had a lot of questions in the Build and Bloom group about, okay, I want to start charging? Like, what should my rate be? Some people have even just gone so far as to like write it on their story, like, oh my gosh, I saw this FaceTime shoot I was inspired by, and I want to start doing like $25 for a shoot, whatever. So for what I like, generally speaking, I don't really think that it's something, okay, let me say, this is generally speaking, I don't really think it's something that is necessarily like appropriate to work with clients on, because it's not the same experience for them. So I'll give another point, like if you do want to charge for them and how to like go about it, but just because the quality isn't the same as the rest of your work, obviously it's, you know, a mobile phone or a computer, but it's also a different experience. And even when you have technical troubles, because mostly every shoot you're going to do on a FaceTime, you're going to have some kind of technical difficulty, which is fine and normal, as you would with FaceTime calls, you know? So I think that can, add a little bit to it being feeling almost unprofessional, even though it's out of your control. The client's still gonna be like, well, you know, it was lagging when we were trying to do this. Maybe it was your internet, whatever. Because, you know, the client's always right kind of thing. You don't want to say, oh, it's your internet, even though it's literally been reconnecting on their screen. But anyways, it's a different experience. You know, you're not really able to fully direct them in the way that you might in person. You know, it's not going to feel maybe as like encouraging. I don't know. So I think overall experience and client experience, it's significantly different, but then also quality wise. And if your client doesn't have access to a tripod, like a phone tripod, then you don't really want your client doing a DIY tripod setup and then like having to further direct them in a way that might frustrate them. I don't know. So what I've been telling people in the Building Bloom group, again, I always started out with like, generally speaking, is to not really even advertise it to your clients, just because I think that work with your friends on it, work with models on it, use it as a creative outlet. But I think there's other areas in your business that you might want to work within and not focus so much on FaceTime shoots with your clients. However, if it is something that you do want to do, because people are posting about it, like you said, I'll see stories and like it'll pop up. I think that you do have to keep the price point like pretty low for what you're offering, just because not just so much like within your work and your editing, but the experience is going to be very, like I said, very different. You're gonna have technical difficulties. One girl is charged like $25. I think that though, if you're gonna charge $25, it has to be only like 20 minutes. But then also with all the technical difficulties and moving around, you know, the tripod, can you really get it done in 20 minutes, whatever. So I think the price point can be up to you. It could be 25, it could be 50, it could be 100. But you just have to know and like set really clear expectations with your clients. I think that's the biggest part. It's like, look, this is a FaceTime shoot, like reiterate it, maybe have even like a new contract that you're going to have, you know, about this. They have to know that if they don't have, you know, maybe they don't have access to the updated iOS on the phone. So it's going to be screenshots. You have to kind of know every detail about the software they're using and set those clear guidelines and really communicate with them about the styling and like about the house, and give a lot more time to the shoot than you would ideally with, you know, your friend or a model. It's like 20 minutes, you're done. With this, you might have to have a lot more obstacles that you're working with lighting, their house, the tripod situation. So like I said, generally I personally won't be advertising about it, but I still think that you can do it right. You just have to really know what you're getting yourself into and like make sure that you already have, you know, you are capable of those kind of communication skills with your clients and like combating any obstacles and like being able to troubleshoot. You know, I'm also not the most technical person, so I feel like I would almost look unprofessional if I was like, I don't know why my photos aren't loading into the camera roll. Whereas with Chelsea, it's whatever, it's fine. With a client, they might be like, what do you mean? Even though computers and cameras are like so different, you know what I mean?
So there's a risk of diminishing your worth to your client, you know, providing this experience to them. Yeah, that's interesting because like the first.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, the first instinct of a lot of people right now is, how can I make money? How can I, you know,
Yeah.
which is totally normal, and that's
Yeah.
survival. But it's interesting. Like this is a kind of a new art form. And
Yeah.
so should it just remain art, or should it become commerce, or what? And
Yeah.
it's hard to know.
I think it's definitely up to each photographer. And like, as long as you can, I'm not saying people shouldn't charge for it. I just think that you should only advertise it and like have clients. So not just like collabs with models and like your friends and stuff, like more for fun. But if you are going to
Yeah.
charge, just make sure that you're pricing it right and you're communicating really
Yeah.
clearly with your clients and setting up those expectations. Because I think it can be fun. And like, if your clients are really similar to you as a photographer, like they love this kind of vibe, they live for it, they're artsy, they don't mind the quality, then it could be
Yeah.
really, really fun. And you could even go and do couple sessions. Like one of my friends just did it, had her photos done, and it was like in their house, and you know, it's a lot more casual. And as long, you know, if
Yeah.
you can nail the like that vibe, then it's great. And you know, you just have to set those expectations with your client.
Yeah. It feels like something that if you had the right client base, like more,
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of like younger indie type people, you know, that are thinking outside the box a little bit with their wedding plans or whatever plans, that
Yeah.
they would be like, yes, let's do this. It's totally different. But then I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like other clients who might be older, or who have like expectations of like Vogue magazine or something. And then they're going to
Yeah.
be like, this isn't quite, you know, what I want. And
Yeah.
yeah, it would suck to like have them form an impression of you before you had a chance to shoot with your normal equipment, doing it the normal way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because one thing that crossed my mind for a second was, okay, maybe it's hard to charge for this, but you could offer it as a freebie for booking now for like a future wedding or a future thing. It would be
Mhm.
like, I'll throw in a FaceTime shoot, you know, like, so we
Yeah.
can do something fun while we're in lockdown. But
Yeah.
then I thought, oh, what if it goes really poorly? And then they're thinking all the way to their big event. They're like, oh, it's going to be just like a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say if it's something like a wedding where it's kind of like that big ticket, not only like item, like the package you're selling is big ticket, but it's also like this huge milestone. There's already so much like stress with it. They've probably postponed their wedding. And then if you do the FaceTime shoot and there's any kind of troubleshooting you're having to do, the photos aren't loading
Yeah,
for whatever reason, I think that's just like a bit of a risk that you're running. And to some
yeah,
photographers, they might be watching me like, bruh, like my clients understand. I don't know. I'm always kind of like, I'm always overthinking my business. And I feel like you are pretty similar when you were teaching at the Build and Bloom workshop about how you would
yeah,
even do like these videos, like email follow-ups, like replies to people, you film it. I feel like you're very similar. And so I think it just depends. If you feel like your clients are cool with it, go for it. But if you feel like a slight bit of, this might be a little bit of
yeah,
a risk that I'm running, probably don't do it, because you're just going to
yeah,
overthink everything.
yeah,
But I mean, totally, there's totally a market for it. I could see like even influencers being super into it. I just think, yeah, you just have to really set those clear expectations.
cool, awesome. All right, I think those are all of the main questions that I could think of, and I've been watching our feed and seeing if any more questions come through. I think we've answered most of the questions from our audience.
Okay, awesome.
Is there any, are there any like, can you leave us with like a parting thought, like a piece of advice on FaceTime photo shoots, like kind of the big idea that you think makes it successful?
I think the big idea that makes it successful is the idea to keep it like silly. Like it's a FaceTime shoot, y'all. We don't have the capability of making it this like huge, you know, beautiful editorial session. You know, it's a phone. Like our technology can only go so far, but your creativity with it is what's gonna like take it the next step further. So just like bring your patience with it. Like I keep saying about the technology failing, but that's just like the truth. That's you're gonna have little obstacles, and you have to just make sure that you're not on a time crunch, that your model, your friend understands. Chances are they do. If they're down for a FaceTime shoot, like chances are they get it. And just like get silly with it, like be creative. Take like the wide shots and then realize like you can crop in, you can flip photos upside down. Like that's what we did to make it look a little bit more artsy. Get fun with like the styling. Just I think if you can create a mood board that's a little bit one step further than what you would typically do on like a collab shoot. Push yourself a bit. That's what's going to make it a little bit more interesting. But overall, like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but like, have fun with it. Because if you just like take it so seriously, like, okay, I have to sit down and map this all out, it's going to take away from, bro, like, we're literally doing a photo shoot on video chat. Like, that's so silly. That should be the overall vibe. Like, it should be fun, you know?
Yes, totally, totally. Great. Okay, so where can people find you online? For people that are watching this outside of the Build and Bloom community, how do we get there and what is it about?
Yeah, so you can find the Build and Bloom Facebook group just by searching in Facebook groups Build and Bloom. And Build and Bloom is very similar, like to Mastin Labs, in the fact that it's a very creative, like it's a very encouraging community of creatives. Everyone's there to help each other out. It's a great place to get, you know, I can only offer my perspective on something, but when you go to Build and Bloom, you can get very similar mindset of me of, okay, I want to help, I want to be encouraging. This is like community over competition, but you're also getting other opinions because other people have different perspectives. So whether it's what to charge for a FaceTime photo shoot, like, you know, I only have my opinion of, I don't know, just set those boundaries and expectations. You might get a really good piece of advice from somebody else with similar mindset or opposite. So yeah, Build and Bloom's a great resource. It's a good tool. It's free. And it's right now popping off with the FaceTime photo shoots. Like, some of it, you guys will be like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot believe this was done over video chat. So it's a cool place to get inspiration. And also we have my YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Jessica Whitaker, so my first and last name. And the most recent video up there right now is the FaceTime photo shoot behind the scenes. So if you want to see that, if you want to see like the technical, like me literally being like, why won't the photos lit onto my camera roll? That video is there. And I feel like that's a good jumping off point for people. And we have new upcoming ones coming out with more FaceTime photo shoots. Like, we're going to do one with my members of Build and Bloom and like subscribers of YouTube. So they submitted their info. So I think that'll be really interesting. But yeah, just like overall, it's a really good, encouraging place. And I think right now, while so many of us have a little bit more time, even if that's just from the photo shoots that we had planned, now they're canceled, we have like a few hours of time. It's a good place to kind of go and, you know, explore, be surrounded by an encouraging community, and just to learn. So yeah.
Awesome. Good.
Ooh.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go check that out myself. I want to see more FaceTime shoots.
Yeah, they're really like cool. Really crazy. Like, some of them I'm like, okay, pop off, like, let's go. Like, they're really cool.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
I know the community is like stoked, and it's just super valuable information right now. This is a brand new thing, really, really cool. So I'm glad that you could join us.
Yeah, this is so fun. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see what everyone in Mastin Labs creates. I'm going to be like searching over the next week. You guys better have really cool ones out there. Like, I know what they're capable of. I'm excited. I would love to see somebody do some kind of like bridal vibe. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. Totally. Yes. Let's make that happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, have a good day, and we'll talk again soon.